Tim Richmond and Rusty Wallace, two of the most purely talented drivers NASCAR has ever known. Both won races for Blue Max Racing, and Rusty a Winston Cup championship. Tim and Rusty, they stood on the mountaintop alongside Blue Max team owner Raymond Beadle. What's crazy, though, is that for all the success the team enjoyed throughout its 1980s heyday, the team seemed to almost always be this close to running aground due to financial difficulties. From bounced paychecks to unpaid tire bills and beyond, you name it, cash money was an ever-present and ever-lurking issue. Crazier still, everybody really did seem to love Raymond. He wasn't the sinister con man so many others have proven themselves to be in the NASCAR garage. Could be he was too nice. You decide. This is the story of Blue Max Racing. A special thanks this week to North Wilkesboro Speedway. The old girl is back this month on Sunday, July 19th, with its first NASCAR Cup points race in 30 years, the Window World 450. Weekend ticket and Ultimate Fan Pass packages are available now at northwilkesborospeedway.com. Raymond Beadle was a racer, not on circle tracks, but down drag strips. He won IHRA championships in 1975 and 76, NHRA titles in 1979 and 80, before sweeping both series in 1981. Raymond was ranked one of NHRA's top 50 drivers of all time, and he's been inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America and the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. And in 1983, he turned his attention to NASCAR with Blue Max Racing and budding superstar Tim Richmond. When Mark Martin's team folded in 1982, it left young Larry McReynolds out of work. Richmond told Larry Mack about his new deal with Beadle and crew chief Tim Brewer. McReynolds wound up signing on as a truck driver, tire specialist, and mechanic. That was the good news. However,
I knew something was not good almost from the beginning, because one of my first jobs was to take the hauler and go to Savannah, Georgia, and pick up stuff that they had bought from MC Anderson. Well, I drove half the night, got down there early in the morning, waited on them to open up. We loaded that tractor and trailer. Harold Elliott was going to be the engine builder. Harold was down there. We loaded all this stuff up in the hauler, worked all day long. And I get my hands washed and cleaned up, and I'm ready to climb in the hauler to head back to Charlotte with this load of stuff. And here comes this executive out of MC's office and said, "You're not going anywhere with this load of stuff. We've not gotten a check on it yet."
oh,
So I said, okay. So I called Brewer and I said, "Look, here's the deal. I'm down here. The truck's loaded. The hauler's loaded. We've got it loaded to the back door. They won't let me leave because they hadn't been paid." Tim said they should have had a check. I said, "Well, you got to figure it out. They're not going to let me leave till they've got a check." So red flag right there,
Yeah.
right? This is
big time
January,
auto
red
racing.
flag. So, the season got started, but our paychecks were bouncing. And Raymond Beadle was a great guy. He was just a horrible businessman.
There was a time when speed wasn't a sport, it was survival. The hills of Wilkes County made outlaws. Only one rule: don't get caught. That's one thing that hasn't changed. This July, short track chaos and nowhere to hide. Only now, it's a points race. Be there when it matters. The Window World 450, July 19th at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Get tickets today at northwilkesborospeedway.com.
New race teams often experience growing pains as they get up to speed on and off the racetrack. Thing was, once the season got started, Blue Max Racing kept right on having substantial money problems.
Our paychecks were bouncing. We went to Daytona Speed Weeks, and we had not been paid in a couple of 3 weeks. Tim Brewer actually wrote us all personal checks where we'd have some money.
Did he really?
We got no per diem. We hadn't been paid.
For Larry McReynolds, things came to a head that spring at Darlington.
There was a lot of egos there. Tim Brewer, Harold Elliott, Frog Fagan. I mean, there was a lot of egos oozing out the cracks of that building over there. So I stayed in my bunker, did my job, drove that truck, did tires at the racetrack, worked on the cars at the shop. I just just staying below. Because really, this is the first team I'd been to work for that was a major team with a major sponsor. We had the Old Milwaukee Beer sponsorship. So we get to Darlington, park the hauler. I think we used to check in Darlington back then about Thursday. Parked the hauler, loaded my wheels in my little three-wheel wagon, and drug them down to Goodyear to get my tires mounted. Well, Thurman Huggins Tire, he's standing at the door with his hand held up. Said, you might as well just take those wheels back to your hauler. We have not been paid a single tire bill all year long, and we're not mounting the first tire. Okay, here we go. So I take my little wheels back to my hauler.
Take your little
Brewer
red
gets
wagon.
there. I said, Tim, don't have no tires. And he about had to come apart. And finally I said, okay, here's why we don't have tires. They have not had a single tire bill paid all year long. Brewer goes down there, writes him a personal check enough to satisfy him to mount some tires for us. And we go out there later on that afternoon, sit on the pole. And
did you?
We did. But Rick, that race started, and that engine in that car, it disintegrated on about lap 4 or 5. Yeah. Just disintegrated. And all of a sudden, Brewer and Harold Elliott are fighting and fussing and frog fagging. And I went back to the shop and I said, no mas. Maybe this isn't cut out for me. You know, here I am with a major race team, with a major sponsor. I know we've got an amazing race car driver. I think we maybe can win some races, but this is no good. Our checks are bouncing. People aren't getting paid. People screaming at me because they're not getting paid. And I'm just the tire guy and the truck driver. I don't want this. I don't need this. So I went in the first of the week and I said, Tim, I'm done. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm done.
If you think Larry Mack has opinions about the situation, just sit on back and listen to what Tim Brewer had to say about Darlington.
Guy come back, he said, Thurman said he wasn't right. He wasn't taking no more bad checks. He said he is not mounting no more damn tires. I went down there and I said, Thurman. He said, Brewer, it owes me like $25,000. Okay, not a problem. Will you mount me the tires? If you give me a check for $25,000, okay, Thurman. And I always carry a check in my pocket. In my household account, there's $25,000. He goes, you gonna get your money back? I said, you can believe I'm gonna get my money back. I said, there ain't no doubt in my mind, because if I don't, Susan will kill me.
It wasn't just whopping $25,000 tire bills that were slipping through the cracks. Here's John Dotson, who worked for Blue Max alongside Brewer and his own brother Barry.
You know, I know that Harold would buy parts and we wouldn't pay for them. We'd have to promise that we were going to pay for them, you know, a set of heads or, in the engine room. I don't know. We would rob parts from other cars. The biggest deal was getting your tire bill paid, you know. Credit cards would be bad when Red Dog would be on the road to haul the race car. You know, with credit cards stuck, I can't get fuel. I can't get the tags on my trailer. It was those kind of things that were distracting everything. And Raymond's in Texas. We're here, you know. So that communication and you know, call Raymond in the middle of the night. Red Dog stuck in Nashville on his way to, you know, stuck in Atlanta. He can't get to Talladega till you send him some money. You know, and it was really like that. It was like that.
Incredibly, Tim Richmond managed a 1983 win at Pocono while driving for Blue Max, and another at North Wilkesboro the following season. Listen close to Brewer as he helped push Richmond's car to victory lane at North Wilkesboro.
Hey, Raymond Beadle, send money. Where is it?
Barry Dotson stepped into the crew chief's role when Brewer returned to Junior Johnson and Associates in 1985. Tim Richmond took the Blue Max off-ramp the following season when he left to drive for Hendrick Motorsports. Enter Rusty Wallace, who won the first race of his Winston Cup career at Bristol in just his 5th start for Blue Max Racing. Another victory followed that fall at Martinsville. 1987, there were 2 more victories at Watkins Glen and Riverside. And in 1988, Rusty won 6 races, including 4 of the last 5 events on the schedule. Rusty and Blue Max went after Bill Elliott hard in the quest for the 1988 Winston Cup Championship, but ultimately fell just 24 points short. Still, money troubles were always simmering just below the surface. That was the pattern. race like the devil once the green flag fell come Sunday afternoon, but spend the rest of the week robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Once I got there, I had a few checks bounced that, but I will say they got corrected. And I had a great bank, little local bank in Mooresville at the time. And the lady would call me up and say, "Hey, Jimmy, your check bounced from Raymond again." And so I'd call Raymond and said, "Raymond, check bounced." And he said, "All right, Pop's coming down there. He'll be there X day, whatever day it was here. And I'll send the money with him." And
now, who's Pop's?
His dad.
Okay.
Raymond's dad.
Okay. And
Raymond's dad would show up and cowboy hat, boots, the whole 9 yards, a typical Texas man. And I'll never forget that more times than not, he'd come find me in the shop. He said, "I got some money for you." He'd roll up his jeans leg and dig down the side of his boot. Out come a wad of cash, and he'd hand it to me to be my paycheck in cash. He said, "All right, there it is. Take it." Now, this became part of life, you know.
The long simmering problems began to boil over in May of 1989. Ironically enough, the week going into that season's the Winston All-Star race. As Rusty went to war with Darrell Waltrip on the racetrack and their crews in the garage after the race, rumors in the garage had Wallace leaving Beadle to drive for Richard Petty, Junior Johnson, or, cough cough, Roger Penske in 1990. There was talk that Barry Dodson and engine builder Harold Elliott would buy the Blue Max operation from Beadle. Wallace filed suit against Beadle July 25, 1989, claiming that his contract had been breached for non-payment and asked to recover monetary damages. Still, there were no lingering hard feelings between the two. That was Raymond. You couldn't stay mad at him.
Raymond Beadle was the type of guy that said, "If that's what you guys want, no problem." His favorite word, Raymond's word, was "no problem, no problem." And unfortunately, you know, sometimes he would just let us do anything we wanted. And I think we financially ran him out of money. Yeah, he's just a wonderful guy. We really miss him.
The team's dirty laundry was out in the open for all to see and talk about. Problems began to snowball.
Yeah, that did get difficult toward the end of that year. Beginning of the year really wasn't quite, you know, it hadn't gotten difficult yet, but toward the end of the year it got very difficult. Paychecks were nothing. That wasn't a problem. We would actually show up at the racetrack, and Raymond had not paid the tire bill to Goodyear, and there were times that they would not mount us tires when we got to the racetrack to run, and I had to work through getting money to pay them, to appease them, to be able to get some tires just to run a race. So that part got very difficult and trying, and there were some anxious moments at the time. But yeah, that toward the end of that year of '89, things got really, really, really hard.
There's a story behind every NASCAR championship, of course, but Rusty Wallace, Raymond Beadle, and Blue Max Racing, theirs was truly miraculous. Despite coming apart at the seams financially and almost doing so in the season finale at Atlanta, Wallace managed to capture the 1989 Winston Cup crown by just 12 points over Dale Earnhardt. How did Blue Max do it? Bottom line, money might have been in short supply, but stubbornness was not. Hold my Miller Genuine Draft and watch this.
Believe it or not, it wasn't even, I don't even remember being able to celebrate, physically celebrate. I just remember sitting down on the wall and just sighing a great big sigh of relief that it actually happened, that we actually were able to pull it off. It was almost like exhaustion, almost. It was special. Don't get me wrong. And the longer it sunk in, the more special it became. But I just remember it wasn't, most of the time you'd jump up and down, you're hugging each other, you're high-fiving and doing. It was just more of a, it happened. We did it. It finally happened.
Things did not improve in 1990. There was no glorious title defense, no victory lap around the Winston Cup circuit, collecting accolades at every stop along the way. Blue Max Racing was too busy trying to stay afloat. After months of speculation, crew chief Barry Dodson left in September to help form Team 3, a move that, unfortunately, did not turn out well for Dodson or anybody else involved. Wallace knew that he was out the door himself as soon as the 1990 season came to an end.
I pretty well knew in 1990, when we lost our sponsorship at the end of 1989 and Kodiak left, and then Miller Brewing Company went and talked to him and said, yeah, we'd love, to sponsor you. And they actually said, we'd love to start a new team with you. And because they just thought that, the Blue Max team was not going to come back because of the finance stuff, So, but they said, we will sponsor you for 1 year, while you guys are trying to put a team together. And Roger's name was out there thrown around, and myself and Don Miller were trying to find, what do we do now? Because Blue Max is going to be gone. What do we do? So we went and talked to Roger. Roger said, hell, I'd love to start a team. But, he said, it's going to take a while. And I said, well, Miller Brewing Company wants to be my sponsor. He said, really? I said, yeah. They talked to me right after I won the title. And they have agreed to sponsor me in 1990 with Beadle. So during the 90 season, man, it's halfway through the year, we started really getting low on money. And then Rick Hendricks stepped in and helped finance the team the rest of the year.
With Rusty, Barry, and Miller Genuine Draft gone as the team's sponsor, Blue Max folded. So what do you think? Could the team have been saved? And if so, how? And if not, why not?
I think so, probably, and that cost him some extra time, too. Because it does. Here comes Bill Elliott.